So I also have to ask, is there anyone from Siloam Springs? Anyone here? One person. I love it. My only connection to Siloam Springs is my sophomore year of college. I got a concussion about 20 minutes from here and went to Siloam Springs Urgent Care. And so I'm hoping that my time here will be a little bit redeemed from what I know of this place, but it was hot, it was in the summer, and it was not a good experience. So that's my experience there. But like I said, you guys, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, but I was raised in Kansas. I'm a Kansas girl. And when I was in college in Missouri, I decided I was going to go home for a weekend. And so I wanted to see a few friends and thought we'd go home and maybe watch a movie. There was a new Harry Potter out. And one of the... Okay, awesome. I love it. So there's a new Harry Potter out, and one of the things that we do when we go to Kansas, maybe you do this if you're from Wichita area, that's where I was, we were like, we're going to go like big. You know, we've been working hard at school. We're gonna do this right. So we go to this theater called the Warren Theaters. You have in kind of any sort of theater world, you have your standard Cinemark, Regal, AMC theaters, and those are nice, but the Warren theaters are like, everything's just a little nicer. It's a little more expensive. You're paying for an experience. The seats are bigger, the popcorn's butterier, the drinks are better. So that's just what it is. So we're like, we're going to go to the Warren theaters, like we're going to do it right. So while we're walking into the theaters, I remember that I'm with a friend whose last name happens to be Warren. And so I turned to my friend kind of joking, and I'm like, how funny would it be if we convinced the workers at the theater that you're related to the owner of the theater? And he's like, yeah, that'd be really funny. Like, I don't know if we could do that, but that'd be funny. I know he's from Kansas. And so we're like, one quick Google search, tells us what we need to know. His name is Bill. So let's call him Uncle Bill, okay? Let's just see what we can do here. So we walk up to the register, and he's like, hey, I'd like 3 tickets for Harry Potter. She goes, okay. She goes and gets them, brings them back, and gives us the total. And he says, she's like, okay, here's the total. And he goes, he's really nice about it. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, do you not know who I am? And she obviously does not know at all who he is. And he's like, oh, sorry, so Bill is my uncle. Like, she knew who the owner of Warren Theaters was. She goes, Bill's my uncle. And she goes, oh, okay, hold on. I'm sorry, can I get your ID? Like, we have people say that all the time. He's like, no, totally get it. Like, totally understand. Absolutely. He whips out his ID. Sure enough, last name Warren. She goes, oh, hold on. Let me go get a manager. She goes back, grabs the manager. You can tell she's explaining what's going on. The manager, you can immediately tell his demeanor changes. He comes up to us all bubbly. Well, hi, it's good to see you guys. Can I get you any popcorn or any drinks? Yes, you can. We would love some popcorn and drinks. We're like, we'd like some popcorn. We'd like some soda. I'd like some candy. I'd like some chocolate, some sweet stuff. I'm not sure exactly what I want. We get it all for free, okay? We walk into the theaters, and I need to tell you at this point in the story, this was just a joke gone wrong. Like, I didn't even think to myself that this was a really bad idea and that this was probably illegal, okay? So at this point, don't even know. We go into the theaters. We are watching this movie. We're like, I cannot believe we just got all this stuff for free. We walk out of the theaters, and we immediately hear the words, there he is. Turn and look. The manager is right there making a beeline to my friend. And I'm like, no, they got us. Like, this was so bad. Why did we do this? He comes up to my friend, and he asks one question. Was Bill your mom or your dad's brother? My friend looks at me, and I'm like, come clean, dude. Don't do it. Like, don't go any further. They know. And he looks at me, he looks at my other friend, and then with the most confidence that anyone could ever muster up, he looks the guy straight in the eyes, and he goes, it was my mom's brother. And he goes, Bill doesn't have a sister. You're coming with us. Immediately, he takes him to a back room. Okay, where in that back room there's a police officer. They make him pay for everything and ban him from the theater for life. And I wish I could tell you in that moment that I was like, man, I kind of started this. Like, this was my thing. I want to just own this. Let me pay for everything. I wish I could tell you that's what I did. I was only a freshman in college. I know I was a freshman in Bible college, but I was only a freshman. I had a lot to learn, okay? That's not what I did. I ran as fast as I could out of the theater with my other friend. We waited for him in the parking lot, and we just waited for him to come back. And so we're sitting here going, man, that's not how we expected it to go. Not at all. Like, that's not what we expected to happen. But one of the things that I realized that day is that the story we tell matters. Like the story we tell ourselves, the story we tell other people. And so as we leave here today, the question I really want each of you to be thinking about, it's a question I've been asking myself really, honestly, a lot recently, is what kind of story are you telling with your life? What kind of story will you tell with your life? All week we've been talking about how Jesus has broadcast this message to us, and this message that transforms us in every aspect of our lives, that Jesus wants to broadcast a message to us, but not only to us, he wants to broadcast a message through us. Elijah talked about this last night, about how he wants to broadcast a message of forgiveness through us, a message that transforms the way we interact with people, and then the way we see every person that comes in our context, every person that walks into our lives, every person we walk into their life with. And so tonight, that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about how Jesus has changed the way that we see everything as we go from here. So as we wrap up our week, our final story, you've already heard it, but our final story starts in Luke 10:25. It says this: on one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What's written in the law?" Jesus replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord with your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You've answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" See, the question the expert's really asking is, who is my non-neighbor? What he wants to know is, as I go about my everyday life, is there anybody that I don't have to love? Maybe in his mind, he's already thinking of a person or a group of people. Please don't say this person. I don't know for you, you know what you're going back to when you go home today. Please don't say this person. I don't want to talk about that person, not that group of people. So he says, who is my neighbor? But Jesus doesn't answer him just with a clear answer. He responds with a story. And he says this: a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So we have a photo of this road in Scripture. It's called the Jericho Road. It's about 17 miles. Here it is. It's about 17 miles long, and it hangs on the edge of the cliff. So in most places, it's 200 to 300 feet up in the air. I've been here twice now with college students. And it's really cool until college students think it's funny to trip each other on it, and it's really not fun when someone actually falls off. That didn't happen, but it is, that would be really scary if it happened, because honestly, it is real steep, okay? So this road is called the Pass of Blood. It's been called the Pass of Blood up until the 1930s. And that's because there's a lot of curves and caves to hide in. I don't know if you can see all the little caves. They're all over the hill. But this was a place where it was a dangerous road to travel because there were thieves and bandits. It was the perfect place for someone to come in and kill someone or hurt them or steal from them. So you have to understand that when Jesus is sharing this story, in this context, what he's helping them understand, what they already know, is that stopping to help someone is not just a threat to your own safety, but to your own life. You have to risk a lot to say, hey, I'm going to stop and help someone. So Jesus goes on to add, so too, one person's already passed by, so too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. So priests served in the temple. They were responsible for offering the sacrifices. Levites were temple assistants. Here's what you need to know about that. Both of these people are holy men. Both of them are people who are in ministry doing the work of God. Both of them are people who should be doing what God's asking, who should be model examples of what it means to follow the way of Jesus. But they both pass by on the other side. And Jesus continues, says, but a Samaritan. See, at the very mention of the word Samaritan to the crowd he's talking to, they would have literally hissed in disgust because that's how deep their hatred goes for Samaritans. As a matter of fact, many of the people that were listening to Jesus would have probably assumed that the robbers in the story were Samaritans. A Samaritan is the last person that they expect to help. So Jesus continues and he says, but a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. So a couple things that are helpful to know here. Pouring on oil and wine, that's what he says the Samaritan did. Pouring on oil and wine, the reason you would do that is because oil soothes the wounds, but wine disinfects it. But the thing we're missing here sometimes when we talk about this passage is that oil and wine were the very things that priests and Levites used every single day in their daily worship to God. So they probably would have been carrying it along with them as they go. So he's sitting here saying, hey, the very things you come with every single day to worship me, you're missing an opportunity to care for the people I love right here. You're sitting here stuck in this religious, I go to church, I do the right thing, I'm supposed to do this, this, and this, anything that everybody can see. But right before you is an opportunity to love the people that I love. So he's saying he pours on oil and wine. Then he says that the Samaritan dressed the man with bandages. I've been looking in the Greek, and I don't see where you can find a first aid kit in the Greek words. It doesn't come up. So where did he get the bandages from? He had to have gotten it from his own clothes. You're just sitting here seeing the cost of sacrifice over and over and over again. So he loads the man up on his donkey. He heads off on what would have been a full day and a half hike to the inn. It's probably as hot as it is outside, if not more. And when he gets there, scholars think he paid for somewhere between 2 weeks and 2 months of stay so that this unknown injured man can heal and get rest. So 3 people pass by on the road, but the first 2 go to the other side. So like I said, I've hiked part of this road, and when I was there, one of the things I realized that you can't see in the text is something interesting about this road. And I don't know if you can see it when you look here, but I want to give you a second. Do you see it? There is no other side. The road is 18 inches long. The other side means to step over. It means to see but ignore. To completely just keep going. There is no other side. 2 people pass by on the other side, and that's a place of excuses. Hey, it's a little messy. I don't want to go there. That's what the other side really is. It's not the other side. It's just an excuse. It's too messy. Or someone else will know what to do. Or this is a situation I've never been in. I don't want to deal with that. Or I'm too busy. Or that person is a little messy. The other side's a place of excuses, but the other side's also a place of exceptions. Well, this road gets passed by all the time. Someone else will do it. I actually have really important things I've got to get to. I've got to go keep doing the work of the Lord. Why am I sitting here doing this? See, 2 people see the other side as a place of excuses and exceptions. But the third sees what we see when we see that picture. There is no other side. Listen, living on mission with Jesus means there are no other sides. There are no excuses. There are no exceptions to following the way of Jesus. As you go into your schools, even for some of you, as you go into college, there's going to be every opportunity you have to give excuses, to make exceptions for the way you care for, the way you see, the way you love other people. But as we follow Jesus, as we live on mission, the commitment is that the other side is no other side. The other side is our opportunity. So, This is the thing we see. We see 10 verses in these 10 action words, in these 3 verses that I don't want you to miss in this. It's so clear. It says this: the Samaritan saw this man. He went to this man, picked him up, bandaged him, carried him, paid for him, on and on and on. So Jesus is going into this excruciating detail, trying to help people understand, trying to help his audience understand how important this is. And here's the reason why. Because love seized the moment. One of the opportunities you have to live on mission is really simple, is to seize the moment. That love always seizes the moment no matter wherever you are. Love calls us out of the ordinary, definitely. It calls us out of places we're used to, but it also calls us into them. Love calls us out of our schedules, but it also calls us into our schedules. Here's what I mean by that. Love is an opportunity in your every single day life that you have to seize the moment with someone. Something our church says all the time is we want to be a one-at-a-time church. For you, what does that look like? I think a lot of times when you look like living on mission, we think, how does God want to go change the world in all these big ways? You have the opportunity to have a one-at-a-time life where you see the person in front of you and say, how can I, every single day, seize the moment with the person right in front of me? How can I help love seize the moment? So the story, when Jesus is continuing it, what he does is he wraps it up in this way. He says, which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? And the expert in the law replied really simply, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. If you read it, you realize in this moment that the lawyer can't even say the word Samaritan. He simply says, the one. See, in this story, why does Jesus tell it? Jesus redefined our neighbors through the story. Your neighbor, the Samaritan, the person you hate, that's who you're called to love. That's what it means to live on mission. That's where eternal life, real and true life, is found. In loving your neighbor, the one you hate, the one whose name you can't even say. I don't know if there's a person for you like that, whose name you can't even say. That's who you're called to love. If I summed up the story, a man asks, who is my neighbor? Jesus says, who do you hate? So I started asking myself that question as I'm, been going through this message, because I would tell you, man, I don't hate anyone. Like, there's nobody that I hate. I certainly have people that I'm not a fan of, but I wouldn't say I don't hate them. But who do you love the least? See, for me, I thought I'd always be like, oh, it's this person, or it's, a person that's like this. But I really started thinking about it. Who do I love the least? Immediately, a name came up in my mind. It's my dad. To be really transparent with you, it's my dad. My dad is a really hard person to love. And my mom and my dad, we split. This is why I'm from Kansas and Oklahoma. My mom and my dad, they split when I was 2. I was born in Oklahoma. Then when they split, I moved to Kansas. I lived with my mom my whole life. My dad and I never had a bad relationship. We just never really had one. And so I never really felt like I had any sort of feeling towards him. I kind of felt like I kind of nothing my dad. Like, I don't have any bad or good feelings towards him until about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, something came up in my life with him that just shook things for me. So I get a call from my grandma. She calls me and she says, hey, your dad, he's in jail. I need you to fly to Oklahoma. Remember, I'm from Kentucky. I need you to fly to Oklahoma, get him out of jail, put him in a mental health facility, and help him get better. She immediately says that, and this lifetime, I don't even know where it came from, this lifetime of just hatred and bitterness and resentment just comes up out of nowhere for him. So I'm supposed to go to Oklahoma. I'm supposed to fly and use all of my resources towards the person who my family lived in poverty because he wasn't around. I'm supposed to go and get my dad in the best place he's ever been when I'm in shambles because of who he is. I'm sitting here like, that's what you want me to do? You want me to go there and help the person who's never helped me? No. But I end up going, not for my dad, not initially at least. I go for her because my grandma's older and I don't want her to have to deal with it. So I get to Oklahoma, find out from my brother where my dad's going to be, where his sentencing is going to be. We go to the sentencing. It's in a double-wide trailer, which is just strange. I'm not even sure, it all kind of feels like a dream, but I guess that's how they do it in Oklahoma. I'm not sure. But it's a double-wide trailer. They bring every inmate from downtown Oklahoma City. They bring them through the back of the trailer, and they get their sentencing. 2 hours go by, and I'm watching one by one people come in, and just stuff is getting piled on them, and nobody is there for them. You can tell. Nobody's there. It's like there's just 1,000 people that are wounded on the side of the road, and they have no one to help them. So I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. And I'm just overwhelmed with the fact that our world is very broken. I know you guys know it. I know you hear it all the time, but I know you feel it too. At some level, you feel it. You're going to go home, and you're going to feel it. And it just seems like there's person after person that just needs your help. And I sit there, and I just have all this empathy for all these people walking through the door. But I'm like, when I see my dad, he's going to know the way I feel about him. Honestly, my dad, I just want to be honest. I wanted to make sure he knew I was disappointed when he saw me. I wanted to make sure he felt the disappointment I felt for years. That's where I was with him. As soon as he walks through the door, I want him to feel it from me. Dad walks through the door. Immediately, he finds me in the room, locks eyes with me. He begins to just weep. Just weep. He just begins to say as loud as, it's so awkward in the room, just say as loud as he can, I love you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I love you, I'm sorry. And immediately, I've never experienced anything like this. Just to love outside of myself overwhelms me for him. There is nothing he can do to pay back the stolen years. But in that moment, and I know we talked about forgiveness last night, that's not really there was a piece of that. In that moment, I need you to know what changed for me. I saw my dad the way that God sees him for the very first time. And listen, living on mission and walking with people and seeing people the way that God sees them. I think a lot of times we have this idea that it's going to change every situation, every circumstance that we walk into, and it hasn't for me. My relationship with my dad is hard. Every day I have to ask God to give me new eyes to see him. Living on mission for me means learning to love him, and that's hard. But I want you to know what has changed. The situation with him hasn't. I'm still learning how to love Dad, but I am changing. And sometimes we walk out of here and we're so excited and we're like, Jesus, I want you to use me. I want you to do amazing things through me. And we go into somewhere and we're like, man, nothing's changing. Like, this person isn't changing. My situations aren't changing. Why is nothing changing? Sometimes the thing that Jesus wants to do for you to live on mission is to change you. It's to transform you. And here's what I want you to know. In this room, there are so many people, every single one of you. Jesus wants to use you, but you have to let him. You have to say, Jesus, I'm going to give you everything. And even if the situation doesn't change when I go home, even when I go back to school, change me. Change my situation. See, one of the things about this parable that always encourages me, that always helps me have a good perspective of what it means to live on mission is to remember who I am in the story. So who are you in the story? Who are you? I think for some of us, we would say, oh, I might be the Levite, I'm a little legalistic, or the priest, I try to tell everyone what to do. Others might be like, no, 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 I'm the Samaritan. I am amazing. And I just see everybody, and I'm like, I want to care for you. And if you are that person, we know exactly who you are. I'm just kidding. But others of us think, I'm the expert in the law. That's who I am. But maybe Jesus wants us to realize today, as we leave here, no. You're not the priest, you're not the Levite, you're not the expert of the law, you're not the Samaritan. And here's why he wants you to know that. Because if you know who you are in the story, it will change everything about the way you live. I know who I am. I'm the person who was half dead on the side of the road. Jesus picked me up. He changed my life. Jesus dusted me off. He gave me healing. And the reality of that changes the way I live every single day. It does not mean I get it right. I don't. Most days I don't. But it means that when I know the eyes that God sees me with, when I know the grace that he has broadcast over my life, when I understand that message, it changes the way I live towards everyone else. It changes me along with it. And so that's who you are in the story. And that changes everything about it. But you know who your group is. You know who the church you're a part of is. You're the inn. You're the place where healing begins. And listen, today, one of the things that I want you to know is that it does not start out there. Living on mission does not start out there. It starts in here. Jesus said, the world will know you're my disciples by the way you love one another. It starts in here, with the way you see each other, with the way you treat each other, with the way you care for one another, with the way you walk alongside of the person nobody else in the group wants to, with the way you love and walk alongside and become friends with the people that everybody else ostracizes. You want to know how you change the world? You do that. Because the world doesn't understand why you become friends with people you shouldn't be friends with. The world doesn't understand why you sacrifice for someone who has never sacrificed for you. The world doesn't make any sense of that. That's how it starts. It starts in here. Some of you, all week, you've been loving the messages and you've been receiving them and they've been so good, but you're living in your own little world even in here. And I just want to encourage you, man, as a group, make a commitment. We will sacrifice for each other. We will see one another. We will go to one another. We will love each other. As we go from here, man, we want the world to see the way we love one another. For you who are going to college, if you're going alone, start praying now for God to bring you friends that you can do this for. If you're going with people, start making a commitment to be a light wherever you are. Living on mission means we see. It means we go. It means we sacrifice. It means we do whatever we can to reach every single person for Jesus, but whatever we can so that every single person can see the difference that Jesus makes. So as we go from here, here's my question. I began with it. I want to finish with it. What kind of story will you tell with your life, really? No matter what age you are. What kind of story are you telling? What kind of story will you tell? I hope it's one with a lot of action words. I hope it's one that people will see and go, there is something powerful about the way they see me. There is something powerful about the way they love me. And for some of you, that story that you tell will begin in your home, like it does for me with my dad. As you go from here, man, if you need God to give you new eyes to see the people that aren't like these people that you keep at a distance or the people you think are weird out here. No, you need God to give you eyes to see the person who has abandoned you, the person in your home or the person who should have been in your home. That's where it begins. Let me pray for you guys. I want you to know, man, I want you to know Jesus wants to use you in amazing ways. He really does. I'm not just saying that. He wants to use every single one of you. And I know I said I'd pray, but let me say this one more thing. Every single one of you walks a road. Every single one of you. And your road may look different than mine. But that means every single one of you has a unique opportunity to help people be seen. And it is going to change someone's life because Jesus wants to use you in that kind of way. So don't you for one second think he doesn't, because he does. And as you go from here, link together and find a way to continue to live on mission.